Hello, everybody. It's Ryan over at Bearded Tree Hugger. I wanted to give a little bit of an update on where I've been. I don't really weigh myself, but I know my clothes are fitting different. And I wanted to talk about what I'm eating and where I'm going to be going from here. So, since the last time I did a video like this, I think, which was like 4 or 5 days ago, I've decided that I'm going to start adding bananas in again. I didn't buy a case because I don't think I could ever go back to that level. That was a hard level to go back to because I honestly got sick of bananas. But finding other fruit right now is very hard to do, especially seeing how we're coming into. Sorry about that, it's moving. Coming into fall, it hasn't felt like fall here because it's been mostly in the high 70s and mid 80s. And then fall hit like 3 days ago, and it's like 55. I don't even know if it's 50 today, and it's raining, and I could see the waves, and it's wavy. I actually went swimming yesterday. That lake was cold. So I wanted to talk about the sheer volume of food that you're really going to need, and got to keep that in mind. And I mean, not everybody's going to be the same. I'm starting at this at 200 some odd, almost. I don't want to say 300. I'm probably 270 to 269, 268, somewhere in there. If I'm higher than that, that's kind of irritating, but I can't do anything about it. The sheer amount of food that you are going to need on this diet is almost daunting at first. And especially if you're doing a starch solution, it's going to be even higher, especially if you're potato bound. So just know how much food that you're actually going to be eating. Now, I don't know if I measure out pounds, um, but I can just say what I eat. So I make in the morning, I make a cup of, and it's not a standardized cup. When you use a rice cooker, they give you a little measuring cup because it's a slightly different amount than an actual cup because of the way the rice cooker cooks, at least with Zojirushi. Um, so I make a cup of porridge in the morning, and if you've ever had a rice cooker, I think it's a 3-to-1 ratio. It seems it's about a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 parts water, 1 part rice, and it takes a much longer time to cook than if you're just making rice. So I put it on an automatic setting so it's ready when I get up. It's very, 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 very hot. So I'll take it out and I'll mix in some sugar and then I'll let it sit for like 10 minutes because it's excruciatingly hot in the beginning. So that's my morning. And then sometime later in the afternoon, lately, I've been having either pasta or bread, or if I have ripe bananas, I've been making like a 10-ish banana smoothie with rice with sugar in it, and then I get yelled at by a cat. I don't know if everybody can hear this. And then later on in the day is usually when I make dinner. I usually try to eat enough that I'm not constantly eating. Now, when I was on the 50-50 plate, I was having to eat like every hour almost. It was driving me up a wall, and it was costing me a fortune. Because even if you're just getting frozen vegetables, the stuff adds up quick. I mean, you can eat an entire 3-pound bag of broccoli in one sitting. So, I mean, if you can imagine you're doing that 3 or 4 times a day, that's why I don't recommend that 50-50 plate. I know it works for some people. Typically, I only see it working for females. Maybe it's because of the harder time their body seems to have shedding weight and its propensity to want to have weight, especially on the hips. I don't know. So morning porridge, afternoon, sometime after that. I mean, honestly, if I'm honest, I usually start eating in the afternoon because I typically don't even get up till 11 because I'm usually doing stuff like 2, 3 in the morning. Um, And then I'll have the porridge, and then I'll have either a banana smoothie if the bananas are ripe, which this time of year, the colder it gets, the harder it is to ripen bananas, so it takes forever. If I don't have that available, then I've been eating some kind of pasta, or if I make a bread, then I'll have a bunch of bread with some kind of fruit spread on top. It sounds like the cat's rearranging the house. And then at night, that can vary quite significantly. I can't even give you an average. Maybe I'll make like a rice lentil curry, or I'll have pasta again. Sometimes I'll make an entire bag of pasta and then a huge sauce with. I don't buy pre-made sauce. I buy crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, tomato sauce in the can, and then a paste, and then I'll make my own sauce, and then I'll add vegetables and stuff to that, and usually sugar. And so I'll make that in a pretty big amount. I mean, a pretty massive amount, honestly. And then I'll have that for lunch and then dinner. And then I typically have another before I go to bed, because if I cannot sleep when I'm hungry. So then I generally either make, actually, I would say 90% of the time, I make another porridge for a night, because rice is easy to get, at least right now. And sometimes I'll mix in corn with that to make it a little bit different than the morning one, but I still add sugar. And that's generally what I've been eating. It's a decent volume. And if you're going to do the 50-50 plate for whatever reason, it's going to be even more significant volume. I think even that Chef AJ recommends, I think she says 2 to 3 pounds of just vegetables, and that's for females. So if you have, if you're doing this for a male, I'd imagine you could almost double that, because if you look at the Irish, which is what I tend to do, or if you look at the Asians, especially in China, I mean, they eat a lot of vegetables. I know people who have gone over to China and say that everywhere, there's all over the place, there's these buffet type things where there's a huge amounts of vegetables, rice, and you can just make unlimited plates, and supposedly they just load up on like cabbage. Because if you go to a Asian market, where there's actually a ton of Asians, they, at least when I was back in Philly and we were going to Aussie, they actually sold cabbage by the case. And people would buy cases of this stuff for just 1 week. And I think they would make the kombucha, not kombucha, what is it called? I can't remember what it's called, but there's that rice, that cabbage thing that they make. And I think they actually just use cabbage in a lot of stuff. And you see them in general. I mean, they do still eat their fish and stuff like that, and they always are buying those pork bones. In general, they're skinny and fairly healthy looking. The ones who don't tend to buy the fish and the bones, you could, I mean, because I used to go there at the same time almost every week, and you kind of see the same people, and you would see the health of the people who didn't buy the bones and stuff like that to the people who did. They looked a little bit worse than the people who didn't buy it, but not by any great measure, because I really don't think that they used a lot of that stuff. I think they used it for flavor more than anything. But again, I could be wrong. You know, you just never know. But it seemed to me that they just used this kind of stuff for flavoring, and the rice, because they would have a couple bags of rice, like the 25, and I think there's even 50-pound bags. You don't see the 50-pound bag a ton, at least out here, but you see the 25-pound. So they had a couple of those in the case, and then a couple cases of cabbage, and then they would have all the other stuff that goes along with it. So anyway, if you use those kind of examples, or if you use the Irish example where you were eating 10 to 13 pounds of potatoes for males and 8 to 10 pounds of potatoes for females, maybe I'll actually link some of that stuff down below if I can find it. I'm not going to be able to do it here. I don't have internet here. I'm just recording this stuff, and I'm going to upload it at some point in the future whenever I get back to civilization. It's a ton of volume. Either way, it's a ton of volume. You can really eat a lot of this stuff, and you can't really overeat it, because when you overeat and your body can't put it into the muscle glycogen anymore, it just pees out the rest. That's why if you eat a ton and it's way overboard, that's why your urine smells pretty sweet. You can smell it. That's why. And then supposedly, from what I've read, this is going way overboard, but you pee out your fat too, and that's why you get the foam, is if you're peeing out fat. So supposedly. So you can kind of monitor your diet in that way. You know, if you've got a lot of excess coming out and it's very sweet, you probably might not need to eat as much as you're eating, but again, it's probably not doing any real damage. I know there was a study that McDougall had talked about, and if you can find it, great. I don't know what video that was. The guy puts out, I swear, a video a day. So trying to find some of these videos, and I don't know why I didn't save some of them back in the day. He did put out a study that was done on I think it was a fairly large amount of people, where they would have the people eat what was expected to be their basal metabolic needs, and then they would add another 1,000 calories of just straight up table sugar to their diet every day. And after several months, each person had only gained 0.13 pounds or something. It was some very, very low number of pounds. So even eating 1,000 calories over of sugar, these people barely gained enough weight to even, and they weren't dieting, and they weren't exercising. I think they had to just do what they normally do. They couldn't add anything else to their daily regimen, because they needed it to be pretty static. So they did find that they barely gained any weight whatsoever. And I keep getting a bunch of texts. At least my texts are finally working. So don't worry about that. Just eat until you're full. I know Durianrider used to say that you would eat till you're full, then throw up a little bit, or eat till you were throwing up a little bit, eat that again, and then keep eating. I don't know if he was being serious about that. It is kind of funny. I'm never gonna eat to that level. I just eat till I'm little full. Last night I think I went overboard. I feel like it depends on how you're sitting. Like if you're sitting upright, or if you're sitting cross-legged, or if your back is as upright as it can get, I feel like you get full faster than if you're slightly reclined. I feel like. I don't know if that's truth or bro science or no science, but it seems to me that the more upright you are, the quicker you get full. Because I know on Sundays I typically go over to my parents' house. We typically sit at the dining room table, and that is more of an upright posture than my couch, which is where I usually eat. And I notice that I get full a lot faster. So there may be something to that. Maybe we should be sitting upright, and that would give us greater indication of what we should actually be eating. Either way, the volume is still going to be pretty high. It's going to be probably high. If you're new to this, it's going to be higher than you expected by a pretty significant amount. If you're used to eating a standard American diet where everything's high in fat, everything's high in salt, everything's high in all this other kind of not great for you things, I believe that you eat a lot less of that, because you just can't stomach it after a certain amount of time, or it's just so dense that I think it tricks your brains or your stomach sensors into thinking that you're full when you're really not. So when you come over into a raw vegan, starch solution type situation where you're eating just high carb, low fat, your food intake is going to be a lot higher than you would expect. And that's kind of the thing that I wanted to hit home about this. Don't think that you're eating too much. If you're eating too much, you just pee it out. If you're peeing a lot more than you normally would, and it's clear and it smells sweet, you might want to back it off a little, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe your body will get used to it. At the beginning, I don't think it's going to be used to the actual volume that you're eating, and your volume might actually go up, especially if you add any kind of sport to what you're doing, like cycling or hiking or walking or swimming or lifting, whatever the sport may be, then your calorie intake is going to go up even more. I didn't notice me needing a ton more protein when I was lifting, while I was vegan, but I know a lot of people do eat some more proteins. I would suggest just doing beans because I think it's very hard to digest some of this other protein. Anyway, volume's going to go up. I don't know if you saw the video that I just did. Maybe I'll link it into this video at the end. I'm going to be doing on Wednesday a 3-day potato only type cleanse because I keep hearing about this thing and I just wanted to see what it's like and go from there. All right, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, leave me a comment, and let me know how much you're eating in a day. I've never actually done that before. I never actually got like a poll. So if you want to leave me what you're eating in a day, I kind of want to get an idea of what people actually eat. I only get an idea of what, the videos I see that people do. And I just know that it's a pretty significant amount of food. More than you would think it would be. Talk to you next time. Have a good day.